Hi there, welcome back to the Flask Mastery series. In this session, we are going to implement an endpoint that creates a new company. So let's get started. So for this endpoint, I'm going to copy the auth controller file and paste it within the companies folder. So I'm going to go ahead and rename it as company controller. So having renamed it, I'm going to go ahead and delete the statements that we are not going to work with as of now. So having done that, I'm going to update the blueprint to company blueprint such that all the routes related to the company resource are stored within this controller. So instead of auth, this is going to be companies, and then the prefix is also going to be API/version1/companies. And instead of the comment having user registration, this is going to be creating companies. And then the decorator is going to point to the company's blueprint that we have just created. So for us to be able to create a company for a user, the URL that we are going to use is going to be create, and the method is going to be a post method. Then the function for this task is going to be create company, and then the function is not taking in any parameters. So what happens when we are creating a new company is that we expect a body from the request. In other words, we expect the company details, and we always refer to these basing on the model. And for this case, when we refer to our company model, we can see that a company needs a name, the origin, the description, and then the user ID. And therefore, I'm going to go ahead and update these to the company details. So instead of first name, we are going to have the origin. Then instead of the last name, this is going to be substituted with a description. Then instead of the contact, this is going to be the user ID. And then instead of the email, this is going to be substituted to the company name. And I'm going to go ahead and delete these. So since each company must belong to a user and we are protecting our endpoints, instead of manually passing in the user ID, it's going to be obtained from the access token that will be provided for the request. So that means that we have to go ahead and protect this endpoint with a JWT required decorator function. And having defined that, the user ID is going to be obtained using the getJWTIdentity function. So whenever we are creating data on a new resource, we have to ensure that we are validating the data to avoid data redundancy. So I'm going to ensure that the origin, the description, and then the name of the company are required. So instead of first name, this is going to be, can start with the name, and if not the origin, then the description. Then we return a response that all fields are required, and this is going to be a bad request. That is why we are having the 400 status code being passed in. So still, to avoid data redundancy, we have to ensure that when we are creating a new company, the company name must be unique, with the fact that we passed in a unique constraint for the name on the company model while creating this table. So I'm going to ensure that we also make a query against our company model, and I will also ensure that I'm importing the model. So from app.models.companies, we import the company model class. So when we are making a query, we have to ensure that we are passing in the name of the company to check whether the name exists. So if company.query.filter by the name against the incoming company name is not none, then that means that we have to return a response that company name already exists or already in use, and this is going to be a conflict. And then for this endpoint, we are not working with hashing, so I'm going to delete this. So the comment for this case is now going to be creating a new company, and instead of new user, this must be new company. So I'm going to update this to new company for all the occurrences of this variable. And if we are to create a new company, we have to instantiate the company class. So I'll pass in the company class, and within our company class, the constructor takes in the name, the origin, the description, and the user ID. So this is going to be name, and this is going to be assigned to the incoming company name. Then we have the origin, which is going to be assigned to the origin from the request. We also have the description. This will be assigned to the description. And then we have the user ID. So for the user ID, with the fact that we protected our endpoint, it's going to be assigned to this variable. So this is going to be user ID, and it is the same procedure. When we create a new instance on a class, we have to ensure that we are adding the instance within the session. So db.session.add, we pass in the company, and we'll therefore go ahead and commit. So having updated that, we do not need this part for the username. So within the response is going to take in the company name. For example, Baroda group of companies has been successfully created. So this is going to be has been created successfully. So when we create a new company, we have to return the company details. So instead of the first name, we are going to have the company name. And instead of the last name, this is going to be the company origin. And then the email updated to the description of the company. And we can keep this precise as of now. And the status code, having created a new company, is going to be a 201. So I'm going to go ahead and run the application. So within Postman, I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder that is going to act as a blueprint for our company endpoints. So the folder name is going to be companies. And within the folder, I'm going to go ahead and create a new request. And then the request name is going to be create company or create new company. So first, to work with the company resource, we defined a prefix that was API version 1/companies. And then for us to access the URL that creates a company, we are going to pass in create. Then the method is going to be a post. We need the authorization headers. And also we need a request body. So I'm going to first of all define the request body, whereby we need the company name. So we are going to create a company for Daffin Nabatanzi, and then the company name is going to be Daffin Book Publishers. Then the origin of the company is going to be Uganda. Then the description is going to be something precise, like we are the best book publishers in Uganda. So the user ID for the company is not going to be manually passed in, but what we have to do, we have to ensure that we log in Nabatanzi Daffin such that we access her token. Then the access token is what is going to be passed in within the authorization headers. So when I log in Daffin, I'm going to go ahead and copy her access token. Then within the authorization headers, I'm going to paste the access token here and make a new request. We also have to ensure that we are registering the blueprint for the companies within our application factory function. So I'm going to open the application factory function and ensure that I'm importing the blueprint. So app.controllers.the companies. Then we access the company controller such that we can import the company's blueprint. We have to ensure that we are registering it too. So app.register, this is going to be companies. Then I'm going to run the application very fast. So when I make a new request, we can pretty see that company Daffin Book Publishers has been created successfully. So when I refresh the database, we can see that this company has been created and it belongs to user ID 2. So let me also try to access user ID 2. And user ID 2 is Daffin Nabatanzi. So let's try to access user ID 2. User ID 2. So when I try to access user ID 2, and that is Daffin Nabatanzi, we can see that the details that are returned for her also include her company that has been created. Maybe we can also update this endpoint in a way that it returns the company's description. So I'm going to access the user controller. So after the origin, I'll paste this and rename it to description, such that when I make a new request, we can see that the description is also included in the request. So I'm going to go ahead and create one more company for the same user, and this is going to be Datamal Book Publishers, and I'll keep the description as the same, and we can see that this is created. So I'll also ensure that we are testing this. So when I try to access high user details again, we can see that Datamal has also been created. So lastly, I'm going to test the endpoint by making a new request using the same company name. So we can see that when I make a new request using the same company name, the response that is returned is that the company name is already in use and the status code is a 409. In other words, it's a conflict. So I'm also going to create a new company for a different user, and let's try to use one for Gloria, that is user ID 1. So I'm going to copy her email address and ensure that I first log her in, then her password. It looks like I actually do not remember the password for this email address. So what we can do is updating the user details for Gloria. So Gloria was user ID 1, and what I'm going to do is updating her password, and her password is going to be 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 and 8. Token has expired, so I will ensure that I get a new token as a system administrator. Then I will update the token very fast. So having updated the password, I am now going to go ahead and log her in. So having gotten her access token, I'm going to copy it up, and within the authorization headers, I'm going to paste Gloria's access token and make a new request. Then with the fact that the company name must be unique, I'm going to update her name to Gloria Book Publishers and make a new request. So when I make a new request, this is what we get. So Gloria's company has been created successfully. So when I try to access Gloria's details, her company must be listed, and this is what we are having. We also have to update this key to company instead of user. I hope you found this session insightful. Do not forget to subscribe and like. Thanks for watching, and see you again in the next session.